So today I want to talk to you about Star Wars: The Force Unleashed game series. Now, that's basically gonna be me reviewing the series as a whole. So that means I'm going to review the first game and the second game. I'm going to review them individually and then probably have some comparisons in between. So, starting off with the first game, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed is set between episodes 3 and 4 of the Star Wars series. That means it's set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. In this time, Anakin Skywalker has already become Vader, and he's off on his missions, trying to eliminate the Jedi and, gain victory for the Empire, as, he did in the movies through, ruthless tactics and tyrannical means. On one of his missions, he is hunting down a Jedi. Now, the Jedi is never really given a name. If it was given, then I don't remember it. And he finds the son of this Jedi, who is about 3 or 4 at the time. I'm going to go with 4 because he looks a little bit older than that. Who grabs Vader's lightsaber and turns it on using nothing but the Force. Now, Vader sees potential in this kid and, obviously thinks to himself, this is my chance to have my own apprentice and have my own means to an end. So he takes the kid and he trains him in the way of the dark side. We don't see the training process. It's just a case of we see the time skip and he ends, and we see the small boy when he's about 24 or 25. It's after the time skip, there's a cutscene where we're given the name Starkiller, which is the name we're referred to by the entire game. Starkiller is played by Samuel Witwer, as you can see here, and he's completely loyal to Vader. Does anything Vader says and is fully committed to completing these missions for Vader in Vader's name, as any apprentice would do. This then means that Starkiller goes off on these missions to kill Jedi simply because Vader is asking him to. Now, as anyone who's watched the Star Wars movies, if you haven't watched the Star Wars movies, then I'm very surprised because there's not many people I know that haven't watched them. But Vader is not the kind of, you did well kind of person. Starkiller will go off on these missions, complete the mission, and then Vader will come back and say, yeah, you got to do this other mission. As you would imagine, because Vader is not really the kind of guy to give praise. He'll just simply send him on a mission, and that's that. Because Starkiller is not anything special to him. He's just a means to an end. He's a way for Vader to do his dirty work without getting his hands dirty. As you can imagine, after a couple of missions, you're really feeling like, right, this guy is pretty cool. He's got a cool lightsaber. He holds it backwards, so he kind of holds it like with it going up his arm, which is kind of cool. It's different from the usual, like a samurai sword kind of style of fighting. And after about the third, I think it's the third or second or third mission. I think it's the third. Vader says that he needs Starkiller's help to overthrow the Emperor and take over the galaxy. Now, Starkiller is completely like taken by this. He believes it wholeheartedly because his master has said this is what's going to happen, so this is what's going to happen. As you can imagine, Vader does not play nice and ends up betraying Starkiller, stabbing him through the back with his lightsaber. So, at the time I was like, oh, okay, game over. What can I do? Was I supposed to do something else? No, turns out this is part of Vader's plan, and he wants Starkiller to go on another mission to round up all the rebel big names and bring them to Vader. As Starkiller said he will do because he's loyal to Vader. Anyway, it's not just Starkiller that goes on these missions. There's 2 other main characters that go on these missions. One is the pilot of the ship Juno. The other is a training robot called Proxy. Now, Proxy is probably my favorite character in the entire game because his programming tells him he has to kill Starkiller. He is a training robot that is programmed to kill Starkiller. Now, he can take on the form of anyone in his database. So that includes a quick reference to Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. Darth Maul is another one that comes up. And he also tries to be Vader a couple of times. But anyway, that's just the precipice of the entire game. Now, I'm going to talk about one mission in particular, and that's towards the end of the game. And this is why I like Proxy. On this mission, Starkiller, I should say, is at an Imperial destroyer kind of like depot, and he's trying to stop Imperial ship from getting out and causing grief. And so there's a one of this Imperial destroyers comes down after cannons are shot at, and it starts to fall towards the planet. Now, in anyone sensible would say, right, let's get off this planet and let's go. This is not worth it. No, Starkiller is told you got to pull this thing down with the Force, which is kind of a good, good way of showing how strong this guy really is. This guy is far stronger than Vader in this sense. But before that, you run into Proxy, who takes on the form of Darth Maul and tries to kill you. Now, I know y'all thinking like, well, why is he trying to kill you if you're trying to like help the Rebel Alliance? The reason I like it is because Proxy sees it. It's even in his dialogue when he says like he feels this is the right time to try and kill Starkiller. It's not the right time, but Proxy feels that because it is, Starkiller's head is all over the place. It's the right time, and I like Proxy because of that. Proxy is kind of the R2-D2 of the Force Unleashed, the funny robot that kind of gives us some comedy relief as well as making us fall in love with him. But anyway, that's just the story as it is. What I liked about the first game was the lightsabers are like very, very customizable, if that's even a word. What I mean by that is you start off with a red lightsaber, as you can imagine. But if you go out of your way to try and find secret areas and secret, locations, you can find different color crystals. Purple, as in Mace Windu purple, yellow, green, blue, and on the last mission, if you can try hard enough and you can cause it, you can get a black lightsaber crystal, which looks kick-ass. It really, really does. And as well as the lightsaber crystal being able to be changed, you also have this really cool upgrade system, which you really feel accomplished once you're kind of, getting there and getting all the upgrades. It really adds to the game. But the gameplay alone isn't what makes this game, isn't one of my praise for this game. The characters are generally quite likable, and, there is quite a bit of character development, especially with Starkiller. Obviously, that's going to make sense. He goes from being this loyal, Sith apprentice to Vader, who will do whatever Vader says and whatever Vader, basically say Vader says jump, he says how high, that kind of thing. But he goes from that to realizing, Vader's actually not, the right person to be following here. Vader, on the last mission Vader gave him, he says, if you gather up all these Rebel Alliance leaders, I will not hurt them, I will not harm them, nobody will be hurt. Now, for those of you who have seen I don't think you even need to see the movie to know Darth Vader is a liar when it comes to stuff like that. So, when Starkiller realizes this, he kind of goes, wait, hang on a second, you said to me you weren't going to hurt them, and you're lying to me. Have you been lying to me this entire time? This kind of thing. Realization hits you hard. It hits you like a brick. Oh, he lied to me. Wake up. He doesn't give a fuck about you. Anyway, so that's character development for Starkiller. Juno does develop very briefly. Like, very briefly. It's only since she goes from being this really hard, pilot, strict person to actually kind of liking Starkiller because of the new leaf he seems to have turned. Proxy's still my favorite. Proxy stays the same the entire time. There is another character on that ship called General Coda, who is one of the actual first Jedis that Starkiller was sent after. But I don't really rate him as a character, seeing as he just pities himself all the time. He doesn't think that it's going to work. He's very down. He's very negative, and I don't mind negativity. It's constant, and it actually pisses me off sometimes. But that was the praise I had with the game. The praising I had was the customizable lightsabers, the upgrade system being very, very, good in the sense that it made you feel like you were accomplishing something because you had to work hard to get those upgrades. And the characters were generally quite likable, and you could see development in the game. But that's the praise I gave it. Now I do have to go and critique it. Now, the biggest critique I had with it was the combat in the game. Although it is cool, you're using a lightsaber, which is like, every nerd's biggest dream, aside from wanting to be like a wizard from Harry Potter. But the combat's very repetitive. It's a simple case of press square button 3 times, he does the same move here and there. If you kind of if you leave a little gap, he does a different kind of move. But the combat itself is very, very repetitive. There's nothing really exciting about it once you've gotten past a few missions doing it. Now the upgrades do make that a bit better because it adds combos and stuff. But once you do that, you realize the combos are pretty much the same. You use the same ones over and over and over and over again. Now there is Force Lightning too, which is really, really cool. But it's just the same. I know for myself, I found myself pressing the same buttons over and over and doing the same move, and I'm just like, yeah, this is getting boring. There's nothing new about it. Like another a game that really kept the combat different was God of War. For those of you who have played God of War, you'll know the combat changes. Not because like any new moves come out, but because it's up to you when you change it. With the lightsaber, you couldn't really do it. You could throw the lightsaber, you could like, use a force field and all that, and you could like force push and pull things and lift things. It was great. That was the fun part about it. You was using the force, but the actual lightsaber combat itself was not was repetitive, and it's kind of boring. Another one I have is the enemies don't really pose much of a challenge to you, even the bosses. Now, obviously, early on in the game, you've no upgrades or anything like that. Fine, it's fine. It works because the enemies take a few hits, the bosses take a lot of hits and quite a bit of thinking. But once you've kind of like gotten maybe 6 or 7 upgrades in, which is like, I want to say that you'll get them in like halfway through the game. Hitting an enemy once kills him. Pushing an enemy once kills him. Hitting a boss 6 times ends the fight. There's no challenge anymore. Now, for those of you who are just like, we'll just play on a higher difficulty, I did. I never play a game on easy anymore. I used to when I was a kid, I don't do it now. I go straight for either mediocre or hard, depending on my skill level. If it's a game I've played before, like God of War, I played the first one on easy because I wasn't sure how to do it. Then I got to like the next 2 games, I still played maybe, I think it was like the second God of War game on easy. Then I got to God of War 3, I played that now, fuck it, I'm gonna go godlike. And it was so fun because, yes, I died quite a bit because I wasn't thinking clearly. And I was like, jumping into battle, not thinking and not defending. But it made me change up my way of playing, and it made me think my combat through. And that's what I liked. I liked the challenge. I really liked the challenge in God of War 3. Now, this is Star Wars. The enemies didn't really pose much of a problem. As you can imagine, the only enemies that really caused somewhat of a problem were bosses and AT-ATs or Rancors, those big beast-like things from, I think it's Jabba's Palace. Those are the only problems I had, and that was like early on in the game. Once you play the game once, you can do it. It's easy. Like even Force Lightning becomes OP as all hell once you've upgraded it. But going back to playing the game again. Now, the ending of Star Wars: The Force Unleashed gives you 2 options. When I say 2 options, I mean it gives you a light side option, like the Jedi option, or it gives you the dark option, the Sith option. Not going to tell you what they are, but that's the way it plays out. You either continue on your light cycle from the end of the game, or you go back to your evil ways. That's the way it works. Not quite that directly, but that's essentially the choice you're being given. Now, obviously that means you can play this game twice and get different endings. But that's it. Once you play it twice, that's it. There's nothing more to really enjoy about it. It really kind of takes away from the joy of having a Star Wars game. Because, trust me, another great Star Wars game is Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PlayStation 2, which is another game I'll do a review on because that game is amazing. It is far superior to the one that came out on PS4 and Xbox One. Far superior. Okay, that's the first game. Now, on to the second game. The second game... Okay, how do I do this without spoiling this? The second game, basically, it's a continuation of the first, in the sense that the light choice you made in this is essentially the one that is canon in the comic books, because this story is in comic books. Is the light cycle is how you would progress the story normally. That's, I'm not going to tell you how to do what happens, but that's what happens normally. It would progress the story. The second game, now, compared to the first, combat-wise, much better. Story-wise, far, far inferior. What I mean by that, and I'll get to that in a minute, but basically, the story behind this is Starkiller is once again your playable character, obviously. Why wouldn't he be? And he's been separated from, all his old allies, Proxy, Juno, General Coda, and he goes in search to find them. There actually is a moment where he goes to Dagobah system, and guess who he sees? Yoda. Doesn't know it's Yoda though. Don't know how that works. But anyway, So yeah, he sees his vision and he goes to try and save the world and all that good stuff. And he does fight Vader again at the end. Obviously, that's a given. But again, it gives you the choice of light or dark. Oh, sorry, light. Light option or dark option. Good, evil, great, fantastic. Just so you know, there are costumes in both games as well. Now they're not really a major playing field because it's more so if you want to play as a costume you can, but there's always changing costumes for each level anyway. Um, the huge praise I give it, and I said this game is far better combat style, is that it introduces a concept that Starkiller doesn't just use one lightsaber now, he uses two. With the addition of an extra lightsaber, the combos you can do increase dramatically and actually become more impressive to pull off. There still is a little bit of a repetition in the combat, but there's more to repeat. As in, there's more button combinations, and that's where they really improved the game. And when I say they, I mean LucasArts, who created both the first and second games. Now, even though they added a new lightsaber, they kept the idea of you can keep changing your lightsaber colors. Now, this was nice in the idea that it wasn't a case of if you picked a green crystal, both of your lightsabers would be green. You could have one green and one red. And the good thing about it is the color of the lightsaber kind of, gave you a perk. So green lightsabers will increase your health gain rate. Red will increase your strength. Blue will increase your shock, your lightning use. That sort of stuff. And that's what another thing I really liked is that it kept that idea of you can kind of customize the lightsabers to your own, likes. As well as that, there was a far better variety of enemy in the second game. What I mean by that is it wasn't just stormtroopers, it wasn't just, rebel forces or whatever you were fighting. There was more like biodroids. There was giant, like, it's actually like, sorry, not giant, but like spider droids and stuff like that. More variety of enemies to fight against. Now, it did keep the idea that once you got all the upgrades, those enemies became kind of less challenging, but they were still very interesting to look at because there were certain ways you could kill them, and there were kind of like certain little quick time events you could do to like defeat them, and it was kind of like that's what I looked forward to the most. That's praising the game. Now again, I've got to critique it. The game is very rushed, and it's actually been criticized by but not by actual critics, like not just by me, who have said the game is very rushed. There are not very many levels in it, and the levels that are in it are very kind of like short. The game is maybe a 4-hour long game. It's not long at all if you sit down and play it fully. Now, what's the one thing a lightsaber fan, or sorry, a Star Wars fan I should say, likes more than anything else, and that is duels between lightsabers. There is a severe lack of that in the second game. This is what I mean when I say the story was the biggest fight scene you have with the only lightsaber fight you have in the game is with Darth Vader at the very end. There are no other real lightsaber fights. Like, it's very lackluster in that respect. In the sense that Star Wars fans want to see the lightsaber fights. We don't care about, well, I know I don't anyway. I don't care about the blasters. I don't care about lightsaber versus blaster because lightsaber's always going to win. I want to see a duel between lightsabers. That clash, that kind of like sound they make. But there's none of that in the second game, bar like the last mission. What else is there? Right. The biggest problem I have is it leaves on such a cliffhanger. No matter what you do. If you pick the ending, if you pick light or dark, it leaves you on a cliffhanger as to what's going on now. I don't like that. Because the reason I don't like that is because LucasArts had planned to make a third game to, to explain the cliffhanger. But during the making of the second game, about a third of LucasArts staff was fired. So the game, when it came out, that's why it's so rushed. Because the game came out without a full development team. Now, the third game was supposed to cover everything that the second game didn't. But LucasArts kind of, because of the staffing problems, it was cancelled. They cancelled the third game. Now, personally, I would love to see another game made. I really would. Because I really didn't, these games, although there's a lot of criticisms about them, I did enjoy playing them. I'm a Star Wars fan, devout Star Wars fan. I've seen all the movies repeatedly. If I was at, I know the kind of like the the rivaling is Star Wars or Star Trek, I'm Star Wars. Sorry for you guys that like Star Trek. I have no interest. You know, love Leonard Nimoy and all that, but I'm a Star Wars fan through and through. But yeah, I really want to see a third game made because I want to know what happens. It really does leave you on a cliffhanger, and the idea that it just leaves so many unanswered questions, and I really want to see that third game made. But what annoys me is that LucasArts closed or, shut down in 2013. That was 4 years ago. So, of course, I don't think there's going to be another game, but I really would like there to be. So, I don't care who makes it, Nintendo, Square Enix, I don't care. Just make this game, because I really don't like not knowing what happens next. But the fact too, I fucking loved dual wielding lightsaber, Starkiller. That was amazing. His force powers were beyond compare. That's why I say the first game pales in the comparison, combat wise, because the second game, the environment would actually get damaged more than the enemies would. Now the enemies obviously did get hurt and would actually, get killed and whatever. But the environment broke. Like glass would shatter when you force pushed it. If you threw your lightsaber at a pipe, it'll cut through it and the pipe will split. I like that. I like the attention to detail that game had. But LucasArts is, as I said, have closed down, so there's no hope of this happening. But one can only hope. So with that said, I'm going to leave this here. So for those of you who haven't played The Force Unleashed, I'd say play it, but don't be prepared for any replayability because it really doesn't have that. Neither of the games have that. They don't have that replayability factor unless you've played it, once and you want to play it again to go to the other ending. But even with that, you can pick your missions. You can just play the last mission again. So you don't even need to play the game again. I'd recommend you do because, upgrades are a bitch to get and you need all the time you can to get them. And Vader actually is quite a difficult person to fight. But yes, upgrades are amazing, but they make the game too easy. And I don't like that. Even on the hardest difficulty, they make the game too easy. So with that, I'm going to leave that there, and really hope you enjoy these videos, guys, because I'm actually quite enjoying doing them. They give me a lot to get my opinions out. I'll try and get another one out today, actually, while I can, because I've got nothing to do today. And I will talk to you later. Peace out, guys.